Welcome to this week's episode of the Dirt Subies podcast. Got a good episode for you this week. My friend Benjamin, BMC Adventures on Instagram and on YouTube. Definitely make sure you're following if you're not already. I really enjoyed this episode. We talk about just kind of some of the different stuff that he's done to his Outback and some of the different adventures that he's taken it on. And I think you guys will really enjoy it and hopefully get something out of it. Before we jump into that, I got to give a massive shout out to two of our sponsors. Anderson Design and Fabrication is proudly a sponsor of the Dirt Subies podcast now. I've been using their lift kits for about a decade and could not be more thankful and grateful to Patrick for being willing to give you guys a discount code to use. You can use Dirt Subies at checkout on their website, awdadventure.com, and it's good for all ADF branded hard goods, skid plates, ditch light brackets, lift kits, pretty much all the ADF hard goods. They currently do have a Black Friday deal going on, I think until the end of the month. So if you're listening to this during Black Friday season of 2025, you can check that out. That's actually a better discount than what my code is. But if you're listening to this after, you can use that code to get 5% off on some goodies. And then, of course, Melee Design Firm. You guys know I've been running their stuff for a long time, and they are also a recent sponsor of what we're doing over here. You can use code DIRTSUBIES at checkout with them and get 10% off pretty much everything in the store. So if you want to get a good battery boxes, strut tower braces, engine bay caps, things like that, they make a lot of really nice premium parts for Subarus, and I would appreciate if you would check them out. And then the Subi and You podcast, if you want more Subaru themed podcast material, he has a massive library of good interviews that are fantastic, very well thought out, very well done. And he's been doing this for years now. So he's got a catalog of over 200 episodes. Go check that out if you need something to binge. And I don't usually do this, but if you guys would subscribe or follow the podcast, if you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're on any of the other platforms for podcasts, hit that follow button. That kind of lets me know that you guys are listening, and it also helps in the algorithm to get it out to other people that might want to listen. So if you could do that for me and then drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what kind of car you drive, that would make my day. Let's go ahead and jump into this interview.
People call me Benjamin, Benji, Benjamin, all different kinds of things. I usually go by Benjamin or BMC Adventures on Instagram and YouTube. Yep.
Cool, man. Well, dude, it's good to meet you. Good to finally put a face to the name.
Yep.
Can you tell us kind of what kind of car you got, and sort of just in general what your Subaru experience has been up to this point? Like, how did you get into the cars, and is this your first Subaru, that type of thing?
Yeah, totally. So this is my first car, actually, and my first Subaru. But our family's always had Subarus. Growing up, my mom's had Outbacks, and my dad's had he had like a Loyale wagon with low range way back.
Yes.
He's got a Tundra now, but we've always had Subarus or Toyotas. So this ended up being, I started looking for cars, and people just really don't know what they're selling anymore. It was so hard to find cars in our area.
Mm-hmm.
We're in Colorado, and I started driving my mom's car, which was she was gonna sell that. So I ended up just being like, screw this, I'm not gonna look for a car, and I'm just gonna drive this. And I bought her car. It's a 2010 Outback Premium with a 2.5 liter engine in it, and it had like 130,000 on it at the time. It was a couple years ago.
Nice.
And I mean, it's been maintained meticulously. We bought it up in Denver, so not much rust. Kind of just started driving that around. Didn't think much. I didn't think I'd be modding it like most
now
people.
Look at you. Now look at you, dude.
I know. And then it was like really only about 2.5 years ago, I started poking around, and I camp a lot. I do a lot of mountain biking and hiking on the weekends and whenever. So I just started going off road, and I was like, this is really awesome. What can I do to make this better? And I stumbled across some videos. I think it was John DZ Adventuring on YouTube, and it was them doing Imogene Pass, and Mountain Subi and Milton Silver Bullet XV were in there. Sick. And I was like, this is crazy, like off-road Subarus, what the heck is this? Kind of just dipped my toes into there, and then I started researching all the different mods that people were doing, and my first mod was AT tires. That made a huge difference, and so from there it just kind of snowballed. I kept modding things. I kept meeting new people and going to events, and it really took off. And now 2.5 years later, I have a pretty built up car with about 167 on it. It's going super strong. Yeah, they're just great cars, and the amount of people I've met is really, really cool. I didn't think I'd meet so many cool people. I didn't think there's such a community.
Like, that's one of the main things I hear from people is, "Oh, I bought this car just because I thought it looked cool, and I had no idea there was this massive community of Subaru owners that are all, like, tight. If you need help,
Right.
everybody's"
Yep.
dude, and honestly, I've got my other foot in the 4 by 4 community a little bit, which
Yep.
it yeah, there's a lot of cool people in it, and there's a lot of helpful people in it, but it's not quite the same as the Subaru community. I can't tell you how many
Totally.
people have, like, sent me free parts and just been like, "Hey, I've got an extra one of those sitting at the house. Do you want it? I'll send it to you." It's like
Yep.
it's a good community of people.
No, so it's really neat, and it just allowed me to get out more. And I
Mhm.
really, where we live in Durango, Colorado, so it's
Okay.
like tons of off-roading here. We have the San Juan Mountains, lots of off-road trails, tons of Jeeps. So
Yeah.
you see Subarus out, but there's unfortunately not too many lifted ones around. I got a few people, but typically most of them are up in the Front Range. And so I wanted to, after really modding my car out, I wanted to create a group down here. So I started a Facebook group about a year ago, and I'm still building it. It's
I'll
called
shout it out.
San Juan Subis is the name.
Let's
And
go. Go
I've
follow
got
if you're in
like,
the area.
yep, I've got like 50, 60 members. Takes time, but
Yeah.
just trying to get like a group of us, just even if it's a couple of us, to go out and have some people to hang out with and run some cars. So that's been cool. I haven't really gotten any group trail runs together yet, but it's still a work in progress for sure.
Right on. Oh, I love that you're doing
Yeah.
that, man. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it's like there's so many off-roaders here, and I wouldn't even mind if there's like a 4Runner, a Toyota in there too. I just think having more people to go out with too. It's like hard to always go solo, and it's always not the safest either
E
too. That's the one
exactly.
thing too.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest pieces of advice, to people that are new to off-roading, whether or not it's in a Subaru or whatever, is, at the very least, tell somebody where you're going, but
Yep.
definitely bring people with you if you can.
Yeah. I know.
You mentioned something a second ago. You said something about the Front Range?
Yeah, so I was just up there at Overland Expo, Mountain West,
Okay.
and there's a pretty big Subaru community up there. You have Eric Stell, who runs Off-Roading Subarus of Colorado, I think, on Facebook.
Okay.
That's like a 7 to 10,000 member group. It's been going for a long time. And then, do you know Robert Champion? Does that sound
Yeah,
familiar?
yeah.
Yep.
That's funny you
I
mentioned
think
that,
he's
yeah.
he's up there. So there's a pretty strong group up there. I was up there for the expo, and I met a lot of familiar faces, and I also met Chris, who I think was
Yep.
just on here.
Yeah,
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 cool dude. Yep.
absolutely.
So
Yeah,
it's hard though where we are. We have lots of people that come, lots of tourists, unfortunately.
yeah.
People that don't stay here, don't really live here permanently. They like have a summer home. And so it's hard to actually find like the niche Subaru thing. There's so many
Mhm.
Jeeps and 4Runners and Toyotas, and that's great, but not a ton of Subarus. But you go to the Front Range, you got a variety, I feel like.
So is that like, so that's just referring to, like, a region out
Yep.
there? Like, okay,
Yeah.
like a geographical area.
Yeah, so the Front Range is like Denver, Loveland. It's really just the Denver metro area, the whole Denver area up
Okay.
there. And it's about 7 hours away from where we are.
Oh,
Yeah.
shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a mission, bro.
Yeah, it is. It's a day drive.
Well, it sounds like you got a lot of off-road stuff where you're at, but
Yep.
how does the terrain compare?
Um, there's 3 to 4 million people living in the Front Range, so it's
Okay.
huge, it's like cities. But the Front Range hills and the Rocky Mountain National Park and all the ranges up there have a lot of off-roading.
Okay.
I camped out one night and did a little wheeling up there. and there's a ton of roads up there, but not quite as many high altitude passes as we have here. We have roads that go to like 13,000 feet, 14, not quite 14, but like 13.8.
Yeah.
Imogene's over 13. A couple of them are around 12, 11, but yeah,
Okay.
a lot of high mountain passes that really you lose your engine power on.
Oh, well, I was going to ask you that
Yeah.
because I've been to Keystone. I went there
Okay.
to snowboard. Like that's how I got into the whole Subaru thing was
Yeah.
snowboarding. And I remember getting up to the top of the lift and being like, okay, I get it. Like this whole high altitude thing is not really for me, you know?
Mm. Yeah.
Like, oh, dude, I can barely walk.
Yeah.
Do you run into I don't know. I know if you have a carbureted engine, you can kind of tune them for that.
Right.
Do the cars sort of? Do you know if like the ECM kind of starts to accommodate for any of the air, density differences or?
Yeah, it's kind of like where we live is 7,000 feet. And then you
Mhm.
go up to Silverton, which is about an hour away, and it's up north. And that's 10,000, maybe higher. I don't know. So, like, you even notice it. You just notice, like, trying to pass on the highway, like, you're in a
Yeah.
passing lane. My car really does not like it, especially with all the mods. So you kind of just got to get used to it. It's like driving a fast car slow,
Yeah. Yeah.
slow car fast kind of thing.
Mhm.
But on the passes, it's really like making sure no one's coming uphill so you can kind of get a little bit of a run up. Um,
Mhm.
as it's not great to go fast because you'll damage stuff, but you kind of have to. I always lock it in first gear if I'm going up a steep hill because my
Same.
CV2 will just like shift downshift and it'll bog out. And
Okay.
so I'll just slap it into first and then I'll mash my foot to the not always to the floor, but when you're above, it's like right above 10.5 to 11 and you start to go up to 12, that's really when it starts to lack power and there's just not much you can do.
Okay.
Sometimes you just can't make it.
Yeah, yeah. Now,
Yeah.
it sounds like, you're the kind of person that, you know, mods these cars or your car
Yeah.
for a specific purpose, not necessarily, oh, this is going to be like a dedicated wheeler or whatever. I modded mine and started lifting them because I was doing a lot of like off trail, like bushwhacking way out in the forest.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you built it for? Was like, hey, I want to go camping. I want to go do these other things out in nature, or was it I want to build this thing because I specifically want to go like off-roading?
I would say kind of both, but originally it was just like I want to be able to go find the little bit more primitive campsites
Hmm.
down that like like that two-wheel drive ungraded road or something like that where the RVs can't get,
Yeah, yeah.
um, and do a little wheeling on the way, and then that turned into I want to also off-road this, and I'm able to now that once I had the lift and the skid plates. But originally it was just like access, being able to get out
Yeah.
there further because there's tons of camping, but you go anywhere with a two-wheel drive graded road and anyone can get up there. As
Mhm.
soon as the gravel stops and it gets rocky, there's like 10% less people or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, the same thing happened to me, because I was essentially what we used to do, I live in Oregon, man,
Yeah.
and, some of the best hiking in the world. Like, we
Yeah.
have some of the most densely, like or just a lot of waterfalls. That
Oh
was
man.
kinda my
Yeah.
thing. We would look at, like, USGS maps from way back in the day, like, when they would survey the land, and we would find these we would just like look at like the top topography of the maps and be like, okay, it looks like there's a drop right there's got to be a
Yep.
waterfall.
Uh-huh.
And we would just take machetes and cut into the forest, and
Right.
try to find stuff. And once I lifted my car so that I could get into these places, I was shocked at what it would do, and I got hooked.
Yep.
I was like, dude,
Yeah.
I got to do
Totally.
more of this off-roading thing. Like, this is so sick.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
Let let me ask you about, it sounds like, the biggest first thing, which is really smart, was the all-terrain tires.
Yeah.
Um, What did you end up putting on the car?
Well, I've gone through 2 sets, but,
Hmm.
originally, a couple years ago, I put the Toyo AT3s, which were
Okay.
great, in the stock size, which is a 225, 60, 17. Um,
Okay.
and then I had those on for about 11 to 12,000 miles, just under a year. And then last year in October, well, September, I found these wheels. I found some LP Adventure 15-inch wheels on Marketplace.
Nice.
I found six,
LP1s,
yeah,
right?
the LP ones, and I found six of them brand new for like $500.
Oh,
So
dude.
I was like, I'm getting these, and then I saved up for like another month and a half for tires, and I ended up going with the Kenda Cleaver AT2s, which
That
are they're a really good tire. And
that's a
not
slept
a ton of
on.
people use them, but they're like
Yeah.
really sweet and they're so
Yeah.
lightweight. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you weigh them at all, or do you know what the weight is on that tire?
I can guess I know that tire weighs like 30 pounds. It's
Oh,
crazy.
that's not bad.
In like a 235/75, It's
Yeah.
really light. It's one of the lighter ones because I looked at the KO2, but it's still really heavy. It's like I
Hmm.
want to put a light tire on my car and not try to grenade the CVT yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so I really was happy with them. The tire shop was like, "We've been putting these on them. You could check these out," and they happen to be way cheaper. Instead of like 200 to 190 per tire, they're 140 per tire.
Oh, that's not bad.
And so I got 5 of them for a really good deal. I want to say 5 of them for like $850.
Oh.
And I've been so happy with them. They've
Hmm.
worn really well. I haven't even had them on for a year, but I probably put 12 to 13 on them, and they
Okay.
just ride really well, and they're quiet for how aggressive the tread is. So I definitely
Yeah.
recommend them to a lot of people that are looking for them.
I'm looking at your tires right now. They
Yeah,
look like I really like that side lug pattern
I
that they've
know.
got. That is so sick.
Yeah.
It's symmetrical but aggressive.
Yep.
I love that. Because maybe this is just me. Um, I've got a set of mud terrains on my Subaru that
Yep.
have like a directional pattern on the sidewall, which is fine. But I
Right.
really like when they look a little more symmetrical, like what you have. I think that looks really
Yep.
good. It looks like
And you
there's.
and
Oh,
you
go
can
ahead.
kinda see, I mean, oh, it's gonna be hard to tell.
I
That
see
tread
him.
that tread pattern's, like,
Yeah,
very similar to, like, the Falcons and the
exactly.
Nitto, Ridge Grappler almost,
I
it
think
looks
that's the one. Yeah.
yeah, yet it works perfect because the lugs are thick, there's enough
Hmm.
sidewall protection, yet it's super quiet on the road, so, yeah,
Yeah, and it's got a lot of variation in the
it
pattern. So
does.
it's. I'm guessing it's not a super loud tire when compared to most all terrains.
No, I honestly
Okay.
thought I was so shocked the first time going on the highway. Thought they'd be a little noisier than the Toyos, but honestly, probably about the same.
Okay. That's a
Yeah.
really cool looking tire.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the first people that ever introduced me to Kenda tires was a guy out here. People that live out here might know who he is. His name's Caleb
Mhm.
Wallace. He's like a pretty notorious, not notorious, but notable photographer out here. He was
Mhm.
um, building out, I think, like a third gen Outback, and
Yeah.
he was like, "Yeah, I've been doing some research, and I want to put some Kendas on this thing." And I was like, "Hey, I've heard of those. I've heard they're good, but I've never seen them on a Subaru." So I'm glad
No.
you
Yeah,
caught
they're
on to
really
it.
good. A lot of people are like, "What are those? How do you think of them?"
Yeah.
The Kenda doesn't spend a lot of money on advertising, so that's why they're one a lot cheaper, and two,
Yeah.
they put all their you don't see them online as much, but they put all their research into the tire and not advertising. I mean, all
Yeah.
their money, So it's pretty
Yeah.
cool. And I think dirt bikes. I think they've made them
Mhm.
for wheelbarrows, all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they make, like, legit tires,
Yep,
for
totally. Yeah.
actual, for all sorts of applications. That's pretty cool.
And when
Uh,
I was at Overland Expo, they make a mud terrain too. Let's see, they make like a mud terrain and a rugged terrain, and I saw more Kenda Cleaver ATs and then the rugged terrain and mud terrain. I saw more of those on the rigs, like the Toyotas and the Forerunners and
mhm.
a lot of the new Tacomas. I saw so many Kendas. I was like, these are like a really well used tire. You know, a lot of people
Yeah.
use them, so it's cool. I'm kind of a
Um,
tire nerd. I did so
yeah.
much research when I
Yes.
first got mine, but it's kind of fun to geek out. Check all
Yeah.
the weights and the tread depths and like, okay, what's different between these? So yeah.
Is that tire, is it an LT or is it available in a P metric? I would imagine it's a P version,
Yep,
right?
it's a P
Okay.
metric. And their
Okay.
sizes are like that's the one downside is they don't have all the sizes like Toyo
Mhm.
and BF Goodrich, but I want to say they have most 17-inch sizes and some 15s, and then it goes up from there. So,
Okay.
I mean, you can probably find a tire that works on most Subarus, I would think.
Yeah. So I think I know the answer to this, but that is a 28.9-inch overall diameter,
Yep.
technically.
Yeah.
Um, how much problem did you have fitting that on that car?
Um, Not much at all. With the lift, it actually only rubbed just a teeny bit in the front mud flap
Hmm.
or the front fender well. Um,
Yeah.
but I also I removed my like plastic side panels on the very bottom below the
Mm.
doors. You can kind of see.
Yeah.
Probably not my best best mod, but whatever. I don't really
Yeah.
care. It's just a bunch of plastic. I did that early on. I was like, oh, get more rocker clearance, and that ended up helping me fit the bigger tires because I
Okay.
probably would have had to cut that on both ends. And then I did some cutting of the rear fender well that goes down to that guard there. So there's kind
Okay.
of like a port. There's like a nice little rust port there. It doesn't go into the frame or anything, but when you remove that plastic cladding, you open up a bunch of stuff. So I didn't
Yeah.
really have to do much. I didn't have to do any hammering or any like heat gun work. So they fit pretty well, honestly.
Yeah. I've been shocked. I put a 235 7515 on a 2012 Outback
Yep.
stock, no lift, no nothing. And I was like, wait, these don't rub at all except for at full lock on the
Yeah.
front of the fender liner. Like, this is so
I
sick.
know. Yeah, and it looks so good. I see a
Oh,
lot of people run 17-inch sizes, but here we have
hmm.
so much rock. Just like,
Oh
why
yeah,
not go down to the 15? One, it looks better, and two, you get so much sidewall.
yeah. Well, it's
Yep.
like, that would technically be what, like another. I don't know what the overall diameter of the stock tire is, but I
Yeah.
mean, even if you stayed same diameter, you're still getting an additional inch,
Right.
of
Yeah.
sidewall.
Yeah.
It just looks way better. You can air the
Right.
heck out of them,
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. It's like it's super cushy,
Yeah.
especially with the suspension. But yeah, it's like
Hmm.
right. It's great.
Well, let me ask you about your mods, or well, the lift mods, I
Yeah.
guess. What kind of lift kit are you running? And what was when you? It sound you don't seem like the type of person that's just throwing money at stuff for no reason. I'm guessing you did a lot of
Yeah.
research.
Yeah.
So if you could tell us what you're running and kind of, if there were any other options you were considering and what ultimately like sold you on the lift kit that you chose.
Yeah, I think originally when I first started looking at mods, I found LP Aventur, and I saw their lift kit, and as it seems like it's pretty great quality, it was $800, and I was like, okay, there's got to be
Mhm.
better stuff out there. And then a year or two in, because I got the lift installed last August, so it's been literally just over a year
Mm,
now. And so I ended up going with the ADF
nice.
2 inch. Yeah.
My guy.
Yeah, I love their company. I've seen you do a lot of podcasts with him, and I love how great everything's made there. And then it's made all locally too in the US. I looked at the ADF and the Rally Tech, I think.
Mhm.
And I want to say it was probably just price that sold me on the ADF because it was like 50, $60 cheaper.
Yeah.
I think they're both great, but the ADF seemed to be, the proven one, with all the camber adjustments and just like really good quality. When I got it, I was just really impressed how everything was welded so nicely. So I've been rocking that and I've been super happy with it.
Cool. And did you do, I know their kits come with like the multi-link spacers and everything in the back to keep everything aligned. But did you do like a 2 and a 2.5? inch lift or straight 2 front and back, or
I did 2-inch front and rear, and then I
okay,
have the 1.5-inch subframe drop or whatever with
okay,
the multi-link spacers. Yep.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've literally never had a problem with any of their stuff. Their stuff's always been real solid, and I always tell people like, "Oh, ADF is where it's at," and at the same time, Rallytech makes great stuff.
Totally. Yep.
All these other companies make great stuff. It's just what I run. It's just
Yep.
what I like.
Totally. Yep.
Because you do get to a point where it's like, you know, it's like a basketball. As long as you're meeting all the requirements and making a basketball to the best of its possible design, how much better can you really make a basketball?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And
Yep.
so for me, you get to this point where it's like, well, I like this brand, I like the people behind it, and so I'm going to keep supporting it. It's just what I
Totally.
like, just like
Yep.
people wear Nikes versus Adidas, or
Right. Yeah.
you get to a point where it's hard to make a bad decision, but it's just
Hmm.
the stuff that I like.
Yeah, I have
Um,
their ditch light brackets too.
okay.
I want to get their multi panels for the rear windows in the back. Those would be great. I don't have anything else from them, but yeah, they make just a lot of cool products for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's, I interviewed him a few weeks ago, and
Hmm.
that was like one of the things I brought up was like, man, you're just always out there. Like if Patrick's a super personable person, but I think he's a little introverted. And
Hmm.
if he could have his way, he would just be in a room or in a shop with cars, scanning them and making new parts, like
Yeah.
designing new parts. Like that's
Yeah.
his happy place.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's we benefit from that.
Totally. Yep. Yeah. Yep.
Are you running stock springs, or did you do anything in the rear for like an overload at all, or
Yeah, I don't have any stock suspension on there anymore.
okay,
The struts kind of went out at a like 140,000.
okay,
The springs were probably fine, but the struts were really blown. After a trip to Moab, I came back. I was like, okay, this car feels terrible. So I had been looking on Rally Tech, and I went and ordered the B6
Hmm,
struts with their overloads for the rear,
okay,
with their overload springs front and rear, and then I put that in, and then in August I put the lift on top of those, if that makes sense. So I have the two
okay,
inch lift plus the B6, and it's about a 3/8 inch overload in the rear, and I've been so pleased with that suspension setup. Really solid.
yeah,
Yep. Makes it feel a little more. At first, I was worried if it was going to be like a little too stiff,
hmm,
but I actually deleted all my sway bars front and rear. And there's body roll, of course, but it's really not bad with the stiffer springs. I really enjoy how it drives.
okay. No, it's good to know.
Yeah.
'Cause that's why I was curious. Since you're running just the 2 and 2
Yep.
spacer lift, I wasn't sure if you had purchased any kind of aftermarket springs or anything. You said your struts kind of took a dump.
Yeah.
It Just for educational purposes, were there any specific symptoms or noises, or was there any like real significant clue to you that like, oh, these are bad and I need to replace them, just in case somebody might experience those symptoms?
Yeah, I mean, I was still pretty new to pre off-roading my Subaru. I didn't really know much about cars at all, honestly.
Hmm.
But I think when I came back, I took it to our local mechanic shop, and they're like, "Oh yeah, your shocks are just the shocks and struts are really worn." And
Yeah.
the way I noticed it is there was a lot of loud clunks in the struts,
Hmm.
and it was also just like really it was kind of like a banana car, banana
Yeah.
boat, it was just like side to side. It was so funny. So it's
Yeah.
just like it was super squishy. It felt like there was more body roll than there should be.
Okay.
And then it sagged too. It seemed like it definitely sagged too. They were sagging, and I don't know if the springs were bad too because I just replaced the whole assembly, but yeah, whenever it just starts to feel like super loose, I feel like, and you get some. I mean, there's always loud clunking noises in my car, but that was like, okay, these are the struts or something.
Okay.
Something's pretty worn.
Did
Yeah.
they? Because my understanding is, when your struts go bad and they don't have any rebound in them, you're essentially just riding on the springs.
Right.
And did you ever like push down on the car and see if it like took it a second to like level itself out or anything like that?
God, I don't think I did. Not that I
Okay.
can remember. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it wasn't like the one thing that the shop told me, and I've heard from other mechanics, is it's not a safety hazard to necessarily drive on like worn or blown struts because they're just going to get worse. The spring is fine. It's not just going to blow up, like a ball joint
exactly.
or something,
Exactly.
but it's
Yeah.
just going to feel really bad. It's going to handle really
Yeah.
bad. So
Yeah.
that's all. Yeah.
Yeah, and handling can definitely, if you don't know how to drive,
Right.
handling can present a safety issue. But yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, you could drive on them forever, but the car's
Right.
gonna feel like piss.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to feel the
Uh,
slightest bump.
yeah, yeah. But so, I mean, you're a young dude, right? You're
Yep.
19. Is that
Yeah. Yep.
that's
Yep.
so sick.
Yeah.
Do you mind me asking, like, what do you do professionally?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. So you might see a lot of my Instagram stuff, but I am a sawyer and I'm kind of like a sawyer, an arborist, and a logger. So pretty
Okay,
much I run a chainsaw a lot. I fell trees
sick,
and I work in the forest doing
sick.
fire mitigation, fuels management.
Hmm.
Sometimes we're falling for timber production for logs. Right now we're working on a project, all the wood's going to firewood and some of it's going to saw logs. So yeah,
Okay.
I work in the woods with a chainsaw and I absolutely love it.
Oh, dude, I
Yeah.
didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I stare at a screen all day for work, and
Yeah.
so I'm real bad at social media, so
Yep.
I haven't seen any of your
Yeah.
posts
And
that.
I've always been posting a lot of tree pictures, a lot of big
Mhm.
trees I've cut. This
That's
job's been
sick.
really cool. We've been cutting a lot of big trees, and so yeah, I
Okay.
started doing that about 4 or 5 years ago, and now it's really taken off. And now I'm looking to get into it in Oregon actually next year. I'm actually
Oh,
looking to come do that kind of work in Oregon because there's tons of it.
are you
Where
gonna
we, yeah,
do you know what area? I know there's a certain part not far from Multnomah Falls where that's like a real, like the logging industry is really big
uh huh.
there.
Yeah,
Can you
not totally sure yet. We're going on another trip in October, and we're gonna fly into Eugene, and
Okay,
probably we're gonna camp out more and just probably hopefully talk to some more companies. But
okay.
I would like to be somewhere on the western side where it's really wet, because I love
Yeah,
the moisture and I mean the trees there and
yeah.
everything. Just like we live in high desert here, so the coastal ranges there and the Cascades, it's so pretty. So
Oh,
yeah. And there's just
dude.
tons of like the one thing is like you can do logging, you can do forestry, you can do
Mhm,
25 different things. Here you could do maybe 10 if that. So like
mhm.
there's so many more options. So yeah, I'm getting
Yeah.
excited. It's been pretty awesome.
That's rad, but it's such a necessary thing. If
Totally.
you just leave the forest unattended, I mean, yeah, old growth looks pretty and it's nice to hike, but it's a freaking matchbox waiting to ignite,
Right.
bro.
We had a really dry, hot summer.
Mhm.
It was kind of brutal. It was 95 for a couple months here, and it's usually 90 for 3 weeks, if that.
Okay.
So it just dried out and it didn't rain, and it's starting to rain now the last couple weeks, which is great. But same thing here. We have a lot of ponderosa forest, so
Okay.
I don't think there's as much ponderosa in Western Oregon, but out here, tons of ponderosa and Doug fir, and when
Mm.
that ignites, there's oak brush
Oh.
on the ground floor, so it climbs, and then you have ladder fuels. So thinning it creates you create stands of trees,
Mm.
and you take
Yeah.
out the underbrush, and it makes it a much healthier forest. And it might look like crap for a couple months, and then stuff will start growing again.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really cool. It's super gratifying work. You get to
Yeah.
see your work, at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love that. Cause yeah, you go into old growth and there's nothing but dead stuff on the floor. There's nothing
right.
growing. There's moss,
Yeah.
but there's nowhere for, I mean, if you want to see a lot of biodiversity and a lot of, wildlife, go somewhere that was cut within the last 10 years. That's where you're going to see everything growing up on the floor. There's going to be tons of area for, elk or whatever to kind of bed down and do their thing.
Right, and
But
especially there where there's no shortage of moisture, things
oh
grow.
yeah,
So, like, here,
quick.
we could never they don't really do clear cutting here, that's a big
Hmm.
thing in the PNW because trees grow back so quick and
So
they
quick.
replant, it's crazy, but here, you
Yeah.
just couldn't do that, so we selective cut, and that's fine, and it still grows back, but it takes a lot longer. You still might see the selective cut for 10 or 15 years, But,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really all done in the name of fire, but there's a lot of work to do
Yeah.
and a lot of work available. So it's pretty sweet.
Do you guys have to do a lot of rigging and things like that when you're working in the forest?
Um, no, like there's really no like industrial scale logging outfits out here.
Okay.
We're right now we're doing it all by hand, hand falling with chainsaws, and then we're either winching logs or trees down with a tractor and a winch, and then we're delimbing them at the bottom or up in the hill, and then that's getting loaded onto a log deck with a tractor and a grapple. So it's really just
Okay.
one piece of machinery, but there's tons of different ways to do it.
Okay.
I personally like some equipment because it balances it out, but I also like the manual labor part of it because you still get to run a saw and you still like I don't want to just sit in a machine all day either.
Yeah.
I can't do
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah, 100%.
yeah,
I've got a buddy that, he does, like, residential, uh, he's like a residential area, like, arborist and
yep,
cuts down trees. Dude, he loves it, man.
yeah, totally, yep,
And that's also a necessary thing. It's like, okay,
yeah,
cool, this 80-foot tree, if it's not, it's dead now, and if it doesn't come down correctly, it's gonna come down and,
yeah,
nuke 3 houses.
yeah, right. Yeah, I did urban tree care for 2 years. I really enjoyed that, and then
Mhm,
that's kinda how I first learned, and then I was like, "I wanna get into the more forestry side of things and work more in the woods because 'cause you're not
mhm.
worrying about, like, felling trees on people's houses, and you're not
Yeah.
dealing with as
Ye
many clients." That was great, but I was like, "I'd rather just work in the woods a little bit."
Yeah.
So,
Has
yeah,
has being in that line of work, I don't know, influenced the way that you off-road at all? Do you feel? Because I feel like a lot of people, they don't even know how a winch works. They don't know how to
yeah,
set up a recovery rope, like, literally don't know,
right,
"What do I even do here?"
right.
Do you feel like that kinda played into your favor when you started, getting off-road and getting into the business?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends, but I would say so. Just having a lifted car, and having good skid plates. Most recently, just driving around on the forest floor, there's like so much stuff sticking up, and
Mhm.
like just having all that gear has been really nice. Um, and yeah, a lot of the I don't have a winch obviously, but I do know the basic principles of how to use one, and then like learning how to like set cables and chokers on logs is super similar to like setting a snatch block for winching or
Mhm.
something like that. So it all crosses over, which is pretty cool.
Let me ask about your CVT. I know
Yep.
you said you don't wanna, annihilate it yet. I'm assuming you haven't had any problems.
No, I really haven't.
Okay.
The fluid's been changed on it regularly,
Mhm.
a couple times throughout its life, which is great. And it doesn't get too hot. I have a scan gauge to monitor
Perfect.
my temps. I got that pretty soon after I started off-roading. I was like, I need to have this, and I'll probably
Mhm.
say it was one of the best mods because
Good.
I look at it every day and I can see engine temp and CVT temp and all that. It really never gets like on a day to day driving to work or driving on the highway, I might see 160 to 180. And then, like, hot, quote unquote, for me would be 190 to 200. It never gets past 210, probably. So
Okay.
it's really, I have some kind of heat exchanger in there stock, but I thought for sure when I put the bigger tires on, I need to install a bigger CVT cooler or whatever, and I haven't. It's been fine.
Okay.
So I just
Oh.
got to change the fluid again sometime soon, and it's been pretty solid. The one thing is it's definitely a little gutless for sure. My CVT is a TR 690. I don't know if you're familiar with many of the models. So it's like what is it? It's a low torque, high output. So it
Okay.
doesn't have a lot of low end torque. So I actually just ordered a throttle controller from
Nice.
Ultimate 9, and I'm really
Nice.
hoping to just help with the highway driving, because like
Mhm.
passing would be at like 5,000 RPMs or like 4,500, and it's just like not going anywhere. And I'm like, oh, this is like, one, a safety hazard, and two, it just sucks because then someone comes up flying behind you and you're trying
Yeah.
to go. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So
Yeah, man, that's me. Like, I don't own a single car that's fast. Like, I have a
right.
slammed Legacy, which is my
Uh-huh.
daily. I mean, it's not turboed, and even
Yeah.
that car is slow as balls compared. I mean, you can go buy like a base model whatever these days, and they got like 200 horsepower. Like a
I
Camry even
I
will
know.
smoke an 80s Ferrari,
Yeah.
So it's good that you had all that in mind when you were buying your wheels and tires. That's one of my biggest suggestions to people is when you're shopping for wheels and tires, mitigate that, that torque loss and that unsprung weight as much as you can.
Yeah,
Like the lightweight wheels that you have, finding the lightest tire that you
totally.
can. If you can shave 5 pounds off of that, that's like throwing 1,000 pounds off the rest of the car.
Right.
I mean that's not scientific
Right.
numbers at all, but
Yeah.
it it's a huge difference. Good call there, dude.
Yeah.
That's
I was like,
super
I wanna
important.
go with the lightest thing possible, and really, I wanna have this car for a while. I wanna have it
Hmm.
for 200, 250, maybe 300,000, as long as it'll go, really. So I'm like, I might as well just go with a light tire, that'll still be great, and just, I was really worried about sidewall ultimately, but those sidewalls have proven to be super durable, and then just
Hmm.
shaving that weight. I think the wheels are 20 pounds is really not
That's
bad. So it's
sounds
like,
right.
really, it's around 50 to 52 pounds per corner wheel and tire, which is pretty much, I think,
It's
around
close to
stock,
stock.
close to
Yeah.
stock. Because the Toyos were, I want to say, 29 in that
Okay.
17-inch, and then I don't know what the rims weighed, but I'm guessing
A
around
lot.
20 to 25, maybe more.
Mhm.
They're probably more because they're 17s, but yeah, really cool that I can go with a bigger tire and still be close to stock and maybe a little less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You've mentioned the sidewall a lot. Can you kind of explain to people what the benefits are, or at least the benefits you've experienced, and what your thought process was in trying to extend the sidewall on your tires?
Do you mean like just looking for a rugged sidewall on a tire, or like
Or
getting sizing down
yeah,
in
sizing
yep,
down, yeah,
uh-huh.
because that sounds,
Right.
to
Yep.
even to me when I first got into this stuff, and to other people, it sounds like totally like foreign language. We're like, "What?
Right.
Who cares? What sidewall? What?
Yep.
What the heck are they even talking about?"
Yeah, so
Uh,
really, you want to go down to the smallest rim you can,
mhm,
um, and then you can go up in a bigger tire size, so you have more rubber and sidewalls from the edge of the rim to the top of the tire, pretty much. So yeah, you just get more sidewall. It rides better on the highway. It rides better around town on crappy roads, and
mhm.
then it rides better aired down because you're able to air that down more. Whereas you have like a 17-inch, you only got probably a couple inches. By the time you air it down, you don't want to be riding on the rim and fucking that
Yeah,
up.
yeah. Pinching
Yeah.
sidewalls is
Oh, yeah.
never good.
Yeah. I mean, I aired down my 17s all the time, and it was fine, but I still couldn't go too low. And I even
Yeah.
felt like, okay, this just doesn't feel the best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there's not a
Yeah.
lot of room
No.
between the
Yeah.
tire and the wheel at that point.
Right. Yeah.
Is there, me personally, I've said this multiple times, I'm just kind of a scoundrel. I just run whatever looks good. I do everything by sight most of the time.
Right.
But do you have, tire pressures that you run in specific, situations, or you just kinda see what happens?
I'm typically almost always airing down to like 20 to 25, 20 on the
Okay.
low end. I could go lower on those probably, and I have, but typical dirt road or rocky road around 20. Maybe if it's just
Mhm.
washboard and it's gravel, and it's just super bumpy, I'll go to 22 or something. But yeah,
That
usually
sounds
around there. Yeah. And
sounds pretty good.
snow you can go lower too, but I've had these tires in the snow too, and they just do fantastic as well. They're not great on ice, but like most all terrains are not fantastic on ice, you know.
Nothing's gonna do good on
Yeah,
ice.
yeah, unless you got
Nothing.
studded tires.
Unless
Yep,
you have dedicated snow
yep,
tires, the ice, you better just
yep.
hope your ABS is working and pray. And leave a lot of space between you and the next guy.
Yep, yeah,
Well, let me ask you about, I got a couple questions
yeah.
related to tires. I feel like people have the most questions about tires, so I
I
always
know,
hit this topic a
totally.
little hard. Do you carry, like, a specific repair kit with you, like a certain number of tools for repairs? Do you carry an air compressor, and then do you use a specific deflator tool?
Yeah, so probably I'll start with airing down. I've got a I don't know, just a generic air down tool that screws onto your valve stem and then it
Mhm.
removes the stem inside. It actually
Yeah, the
removes that.
core.
Yeah, the core
Yeah,
removes
yes.
that, and then you can air it down super quick. I've had those cores come out sometimes, and that's
Yes.
not fun. But so that's what I carry, and then I had a Vire 88p compressor, which was great, and I just got a Vire 300p to
Nice.
have a bigger compressor and also just for these bigger tires that 88p was just kind of lugging. And
Mhm.
it's good to have two of everything or a lot of things. Good
Yeah.
backup. So air compressor, air down tool, and then I have a basic. I want to say it's just an overland vehicle systems tire repair kit. You know, it's got
Okay.
plugs in there. It's got the cores, extra cores. It's got
Mhm.
extra valve stem caps and things like that. And a reamer tool and all that. And I've never had to use it, but I bought that before I even had um, this new wheel and tire setup because I'm like, I'm gonna have this, you know, just in case I do get a sidewall puncture or whatever. And
Yeah.
now I have the full size spare too, so that's another thing that was a little harder. Is you gotta figure out a place to carry your full size spare when you go up in tire size.
Yes.
So I got a Wilco. It's a hitch drop. It drops down actually.
Yeah.
I've loved
Tilts.
it. Yep, tilts down,
Yeah.
and I have my spare up on there, and I rotate
Okay.
it in. So I do a 5 tire rotation, and it's I mean I've had no issues with those tires, but having a
Cool.
full size spare is really nice when you're like out there, and if you
Mhm.
can plug it, great. But if you just want to like just like
Swap it.
jack it up and throw it on and just fix it at camp, that's always nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question was your tire carrier.
Yeah.
The Wilco stuff's really good. That, the one that you have, I think my buddy had that on his WRX for a while. Um, what all is required to install that? Just a trailer hitch and it plugs right in?
Yeah, kind of. On my car, one of the first things I did to that car was install a 2-inch hitch. It didn't have one
Mhm.
just for a bike rack. So it slides right into there, and there's a kind of a camming thing on the hitch drop, and you tighten
Mm.
that bolt up, and it goes up into the hitch. And then I have it's just an anti-rattle hitch tightener from Amazon.
Okay.
It's like a little U bolt that goes down on top of the hitch,
Oh,
you
gotcha.
know. I don't really have a good photo of it. And then there's a plate and then some washers, lock washers, and 2 nuts. And so that
Okay.
helps it not loosen up. There's 2 points, but on my car, the bumper hits, and I was not able to get a hitch pin through the actual tire carrier. So I tried getting a hitch extender that would have just
Mhm.
looked dorky. It didn't even fit. And so I
Yeah.
ultimately didn't end up doing anything, and it doesn't loosen up. So I would have
Okay.
had to cut my bumper in the rear, which I just didn't want to. Like, I don't want
Mhm.
to just have like a hacked bumper when I go to pull it off or something, or when I sell the
Yeah.
car. So I just always check those bolts periodically, and I've never had them loosen up with that hitch tightener and then the
Okay.
main. But most cars they fit pretty easy, and you just put the pin through there. I'd still recommend a hitch tightener because it helps. There's no rattle, and that thing doesn't move around at all.
Okay. Yeah, I think when I first, so I don't have anything, to carry spares. I
Right.
honestly just I risk it for the biscuit. I don't give a fudge. My tires are all overkill on all my cars.
Yeah.
But I remember when I first started looking into them, I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, I wonder what kind of crazy wizardry is involved in installing one of these.
Yeah,
And it really is just as simple as having a 2-inch hitch
I
receiver
know.
and plugging it. Like, it's literally that easy. The hard part is forking over the money. Like,
Exactly.
that's.
Yep. Yeah, totally.
Do you remember what kind of hitch receiver you put on there? Did you put on like a Kurt or anything specific?
Um, it's a Reese Power, I think.
Okay.
Just a regular Reese Power from O'Reilly's. It's like a class 2 hitch. Nothing
Okay.
special. I didn't get like a eco hitch or anything, but it's been totally fine. I know there's ones that are like recessed and fit up into the bumper on some cars, but this one, it was just really so I can like put a bike rack on there ultimately. And then with this Wilco, I have an additional 2-inch receiver above that, and so I can put
Mm-hmm.
my bike rack on there behind the tire carrier, which is nice. So I
Cool.
can have that, and then you have to plop the bike rack down, and then you can just swing the tire down on the ground to get to the
Okay.
trunk. So you'd definitely get a little exercise lifting the tire every time you go in the trunk, but
Yeah.
hey, whatever, it's fine. Um, it makes
Yeah.
for a good stool too to sit on or like set something on too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I know you did it for bike rack purposes, but man, they're what, like between 150 $200 for most hitch
Yeah.
receivers,
Right.
and it's the easiest and most reliable way to gain a solid frame mounted recovery point on these cars, man.
Totally.
Yeah.
Even if you have it on there for like towing a teeny trailer, putting your bike
Mhm.
rack, or even just like you throw the hitch receiver and you throw a little
Shackle block.
shackle in there. Yep,
Yeah.
shackle block.
Yeah.
Yeah, so worth it. Yeah.
100%.
You
Yeah,
can
it's
yep,
way affordable,
totally.
and I'm a total idiot and I can install, hitch receivers. If
Yeah.
I can do it, anybody can do it, man.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my number one suggestions to people for recovery stuff is, man, go get a hitch receiver, man. That's the business right there.
Yeah, totally.
Your I'm backtracking here a little bit, but
Yeah,
I meant to ask with your lift kit. I know this is way off topic, and I should have thought to ask this earlier.
you're good.
It sounds like you had the shop install the suspension.
No,
Um,
so actually, the suspension was first, right? That blew
mhm,
out at 140 or so, and then
mhm,
let's see. Yeah, I was gonna get the lift and the suspension at the same time. I decided to wait. And I actually that was one of the first things I did myself on the car.
nice.
My buddy and I tackled the suspension, the strut, the front and rear struts, and it was super
Oh,
easy.
okay. So
Really
you guys
wasn't.
did the
Yeah,
suspension
we
too.
did it,
Okay,
and then I took it in for alignment,
respect.
and I was like, "This is not bad." And
Yeah.
so then from there, I was like, the lift I want to install, my buddy helped me with the lift just because it was a little more complicated for the subframe, but even then it
Hmm.
wasn't that bad.
It
And
really
then,
isn't.
I mean, most everything else besides like alignments and like hard stuff, I've done control arms in the front and rear. I've done a ton of ball joints. Um,
Hmm.
Brakes, I did rear brakes. It's been awesome just to learn how to do it all and also save myself a lot of money too. It's been
Oh,
great. Yeah.
dude, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
I if I could encourage people, and you need to be smart and know when to make sure you have a helping hand from somebody that's knowledgeable,
Right.
or to take it to a shop, because there are certain things where, like your brakes, for example, if you don't really know
Yeah.
what to do, you can't mess that up, because if your
Right.
brakes don't work, then you're probably going to heaven.
Yeah.
Uh, but man, I love that, because that's what I was going to ask, is if you installed it yourself or not.
Yep.
What was the hardest part of doing the lift kit install?
Probably the subframe, like, just, like, having to jack the whole car up and then get additional jacks to,
Support.
drop the subframe. Yeah,
Yeah.
support it and drop it, and then putting the blocks in there, tightening it up wasn't bad.
Yeah.
It really went together super easy, and with 2 people, like, that's definitely a two-person job, I would say, because you can have
Mhm.
1 person on each side, loosen up the bolts a little bit, start to drop it, loosen them up
Mhm.
more, drop it, and then you take that spacer out and you put the new one in. But, that was probably the hardest part. Everything else was pretty easy, and even the struts. The front struts super easy, but the rears were just a little harder because that that control arm didn't want to drop down all the way. The sway bar was
Yeah.
fighting it.
Yeah.
Now
You
I
always
don't
gotta
really have. Yeah, yeah,
always gotta pull those sway bar links off,
yeah,
man. I
yeah.
hate having to
I
do that because 'cause they've always got the goofy little Allen key
I
to
know.
get those sway bar links off. It's
I
like,
know.
I know you could have made this easier for us, but you
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah, yeah.
I've had to pull out the hacksaw on
Oh,
end links on more than one occasion.
yep, that's what I did to get mine off originally, and then I had that front bar because it's a huge bar in the front of mine. It goes through the engine bay on the bottom. It's like, how am I
Okay.
gonna pull this out? And so I
Yes.
had it, I had it strung up with some wire rattling around.
Yeah,
And
bro.
then one day I went over to my buddy's house and I took the angle grinder and I just cut that thing in half and I pulled it out.
There you go.
Yep.
Is it because there's, like, that little plate or something that's near the steering rack that kinda
Yeah,
holds
it's
it?
I
Is
don't
that where it
know.
goes?
It's like bolted to the front subframe, so it can't really totally move, but like you can't pull it out because they're crooked on both ends, It's like this
Yeah.
crooked pry bar. So I just had to
Yeah.
cut it in half and pull the ends out. And I was like, all right, this is never going back in. So I have it laying
Yeah.
over at the shop and I can use it for like additional strength to get a bolt off or tighten it because it's a
Yeah.
pretty burly bar.
When you're off-road, do you feel like having a little bit of knowledge about what's going on under the car, under the hood, do you feel a little bit more confident when you start to notice things like weird noises or, hey, the car feels a little funny? Me personally, I feel way more confident when I'm off pavement and I'm in the middle of nowhere and it's like, hey, if something breaks, it's up to me to get out of here. Did that
Yeah.
give you that kind of feeling?
Totally. Really just like so many people, one, don't check their oil or just there's basic
Oh,
things that are just so easy to prevent. You don't check your oil, you run it low and you seize an engine.
mm-hmm.
Um, it's so simple to check those things, the fluids. I pop my hood a couple times a week or something, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter. And just looking in there, looking at the head gasket seals, you can see those. And then when I do my oil change, and so naturally starting to work on the car, I got to like kind of just know it better. So when I'm hearing noises, I'm like, maybe it could be that, maybe it could be
Mm-hmm.
that. There's always a billion things it could be, but it made me feel better that I had worked on it and I had done this work. So I'm like, okay, I don't have to worry about struts
Mm-hmm.
now. It's not
Yeah.
that control arm, and I ultimately feel better when I'm going out. And if I do hear noises, I might have an idea what that is, instead of like, what's that?
Yeah.
So it
Yeah,
really
because it's like,
helps.
"Oh, I just replaced those end links on that sway bar," which obviously we're not running sway bars,
Right.
but,
Right.
you're like, "Oh, I remember I just worked on that. I just might need to torque that bolt down a little bit," things like that. I think the fluid check that you mentioned is so
I know.
overlooked, dude.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
think Chris talked about that actually. One of the best things you can do is, check what is your even if it's, not before every trip, but just a monthly thing. Check your
Yeah.
CV axle boots. How do those look?
Yep.
How's your diff fluid look? Does it look like coffee?
Right.
All those
Yep.
different things that, yeah, it can be a hassle and you're going to have to figure out, okay, where is the front diff? How do I check that? How do I check my transmission fluid? But
Right.
dude, it can save you 5 digits worth of
Totally.
repair
And I
costs.
mean, just checking, I check my oil every time I fill up on gas. Super easy. Super,
Mm-hmm.
super easy. Or if I'm going on a long trip and I know I'm going to drive for like a whole day or a couple days, I'll just check
Mm-hmm.
it, check my coolant levels. I had to do a coolant flush. So I always check that periodically. It's just so easy to do. And we had one of our work trucks, back to a work story. It was a old Ford. It was a V10 Triton, so a
Oh,
really bad motor.
yeah.
But I think what ended
Notorious.
yeah, I think what ended up happening with that was we starved it of oil and we blew a rod driving it. So
Yep.
it was things like that because when we checked the oil, dry, there was like nothing in there. So it blew a rod, and created $10,000-$15,000 worth of damage. It was crazy, for a
Holy
20-year-old
fudge.
truck. And I'm like, all along it could have been just checking the oil. It's such a simple thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
quite the disaster.
Yep, you're not the first person to mention that, man.
Yeah.
It's and you're not the first person who's shared a story about learning that the hard way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually my daily driver's got pretty sure I roached the rod bearings in it about a year and a half ago,
Uh-huh.
and I'm still running it. I'm gonna blow it up. I've got a short walk in the garage. I've just
Yeah.
been too busy to put it in. But
Yeah.
so your Instagram, I've seen you drive in a lot of different conditions. I've seen some snow. I've seen some like forest stuff.
Yeah.
Where, what all have you kind of tested the car in? Where, what are your favorite types of terrain to drive in? And are there any types of terrain where you feel like the car either does really well or struggles a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it really varies, but, a lot in the mountains, a lot in the high country, a lot of high pass roads, tons of Forest Service roads too down here at 7,000 feet to
Hmm.
9,000 feet does really well. Um, I mean, it does really well in the mountains too. The elevation is just the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And I also go to the desert a lot in the winter. Moab's only 2.5 hours away from us.
Oh,
So
that's sick.
it's pretty awesome. So
Oh, that's so
I
sick.
go there in the winter because it's quiet. Don't tell
Yeah.
anyone that because it's super busy in the summer and it's hot. I
Yeah.
go there in the off season and I camp out for a couple days or a long weekend, and I do a bunch of off roading. And out there at the desert, it's only a couple thousand feet lower, but the car does so well on those passes. There's like Hurrah Pass and Chicken Corners and some pretty moderate trails from Moab. I don't do anything crazy out there, but it does really good on the slick rock.
Okay.
And then I also do some snow wheeling as well. Our roads kind of close down here, which is frustrating. They gate everything because they don't want
For
people driving up there and getting stuck
okay.
because people don't know how to get out. So
Yeah.
things like that. But they're open until end of December, sometimes into January. So you get a couple
Okay.
storms and you could go out for like with a couple feet of snow sometimes. I mean, at most.
Yeah.
And the snow can be super fun, but I've also noticed like that's probably one of the hardest situations to judge. Like to judge, okay, I'm gonna go down this hill. Can I make it back up? I've
Yeah.
had situations where I'm like
Yes.
driving, it keeps snowing, the snow gets deeper and deeper, and then like I go to turn around and I get stuck, and I
Oh,
use my traction boards to get out. And it's like the ground is right there and I can shovel down to the ground, but it doesn't take much. That's probably the hardest situation to judge, but the car
yeah.
still does pretty well in all situations, I'd feel like.
I'm looking, and dude, it looks like you really do have access to some of the most like
Yeah.
fantastic
Yeah.
terrain on the planet, dude.
Yeah.
Like the Arches Park. Oh fudge,
I
that's
know.
so sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you said it does pretty good on slick rock with those Kendas and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done Hell's Revenge or like any of the
Yeah.
crazy trails out there, but you still get to drive on some slick rock, and yeah, the slick rock, it does great. It's very grippy. Um a lot of people may not know this, but you don't actually have to air down for slick rock because it's so grippy. You can just walk straight up it, and so
Hmm.
cars can naturally go up it. Airing down would just increase your traction, your contact patch. But tons of people I know do Hell's Revenge and those other trails out there like the Lion's Back and all that. Not aired down simply maybe because they don't have enough clearance or they don't
Hmm.
need to. So the slick rock's pretty cool. You can just drive right up it.
You kind of mentioned, Toyotas and stuff earlier. Do you go out with people that are in 4x4s at all?
Yeah, sometimes I have um a couple friends used to go out with a buddy in a first gen Tundra a lot. We'd go
Nice.
off-roading. That thing's got almost 300,000 on it, which is sweet. Yep. And
They're
yep.
those are good cars.
They're really good. And then I've gone out with a couple friends that have an old Forerunner, and they have Jeeps. One guy's got a
Okay.
Cherokee, another guy's got a Wrangler, something like that. So
Okay.
yeah, I go out with them. But a lot of times I do solo wheel a lot because like having enough people to off road with is still a challenge, or finding people. And if I'm just going somewhere where I know there's cell service or something, I'll go out there and I'll just be careful. Or if I'm going
Yeah.
somewhere where there's no cell service, I might take satellite phone or a
Mhm.
Garmin or something.
Okay.
Yeah,
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, I see a lot of hate in the Subaru community towards like 4x4s,
I know.
but I have the most fun running with those people,
Right.
dude. Like, and the thing is I think people think that, oh, they're making fun of us because we're in a Subaru. Yeah, of course they are. But people make fun of everybody, dude. You should hear the stuff I get told when I'm out in the
Yeah.
Jeep, dude.
Yep.
It's like
Right.
everybody's just pitching each other crap.
Hmm.
But man, I've learned the most being off road with 4x4s. That's how I got my
Totally.
start, was with dudes in like, second gen runners. Because it was like, okay, I can really push the Subaru and see what it'll do. And I've got some backup here that I know can get me out,
Right. Yeah.
That's been the most fun.
And it's so different. Their ways of wheeling are different than ours, so it's
Yeah,
really neat. And I mean, it's
100%.
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got a buttload of lights on the car. Can you talk a little bit about what your light setup is? Because I'm seeing a lot.
Yep. I've got a couple different things on there. I've got a front bumper bar from
Hmm.
SSD that has two 5-inch aux beam lights on there, which
Hmm.
are really nice and bright. And they're kind of a nice mid-range lighting. They're not
Hmm.
crazy expensive like the diodes or the Bajas, but I still think they're gonna last for a while. I've got LEDs in the housings. I've got the Auxitos from your
Nice.
video, which I like
Oh,
those.
I think I remember you
Yep.
commenting on
Uh-huh.
that. I
Yep.
love mine,
Yep.
dude.
Yeah.
Love them.
And then I've got two nightlight ditch lights from Amazon. I mounted
Okay.
on the hood with ADF brackets, and then I've got I want to say I've got some yellow tint over the fog lights, the stock fog lights,
Okay.
um, on the bumper, and then I have some grill lights, and so
Oh,
I ended up just like kind of just creating my own thing with the grill. I painted it and then I was like, I really want to have
mhm.
grill lights, kind of like the Toyotas.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I bought some off eBay, like $11 or
Okay.
something. The tabs didn't
Sick.
quite fit, and I just shoe glued them in there, shoe glued the tabs to the inside of the
Sick.
grill. And I mean, they've been on there since probably mid-summer or something, early spring, and they've been holding up great, and they look really nice.
Dude,
Yeah.
do you skate?
I don't.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
I've probably run through like 100 tubes of shoe goo in my life.
Uh-huh.
That
Yeah.
stuff,
Dude, it's
it's
so useful.
so good,
Yeah.
dude. Even if it's not for, shoe gooing your shoes after kickflipping all day,
Mhm.
it's it's one of the best
Yep.
adhesives I've ever used.
I know.
It
So
smells so
multi-purpose.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I made the mistake of when I was probably like 14 or something. I was in my room like, oh, I gotta fix my shoes, and I was shoe gooing them,
Uh-huh.
and I
Oh.
was like stumbling around the house after that, like, oh fudge. Yeah,
Yeah.
the fumes from shoe goo are definitely
Yep.
not the best. So do it
But I've
outside.
been stoked with the grill lights. They look really nice. I wired them into the I figured out how to wire them into the fog light fuse. So when my fog
Perfect.
lights are on, the grill lights are on. So I typically
Nice.
um and I don't know if any of you guys have seen, but I hit a deer. I hit a deer and I cracked my headlight housing
Oh,
maybe a week. It would be 2 weeks ago. It was a week before Overland Expo, or actually a couple days. So I've got tape over it right now.
did
Um,
you put that on your
I
story?
did.
I
Yeah.
saw
It was
that.
really hard
Yeah.
to see. And I got really lucky because I didn't do any other damage.
Okay.
But I'm waiting on some new housings to come in, I think they're like 2013 special appearance
Okay.
housings that are blacked out. So it should look pretty nice.
Nice. Is your guys' snow light and fluffy and hard to pack down, or do you guys get heavy snow there?
It really depends on the storm, but
Mm.
we get a lot of powder up
Mm-hmm.
in the mountains. It can be dry, light powder down here and up in the mountains, but typically it's somewhere in between of like dry and light, and then a little bit of dense. But
Okay.
we'll sometimes get warm storms down at like Durango's at 6,500, where we live's at 7,000. So 500 feet really makes a big difference in the winter. So
Absolutely.
town might get rain, and then we might get snow, but it'll be really wet, heavy, sloppy snow. But typically we get a lot of powder,
Okay.
here, and we don't have as much wet snow. We can get dense powder for sure, but it's the warm storms that do bring the like wet, sloppy stuff. That
Okay.
sucks to shovel. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, the light stuff is fun because you can blast through it,
Right.
but I find that it's so hard when you're actually like snow wheeling in deep,
Yep.
light snow, it won't pack. It
No.
doesn't pack.
Uh-uh.
You can
Yeah.
just sit there and it's like sand. You just
Yeah.
churn
Right.
tires. Doesn't matter how low your air pressure is. It's like you
Yeah.
really got to struggle and be like strategic about getting through it, you know?
Yeah. That's why the little bit of moisture in the snow is nice, because it will pack
Hmm.
under your tire so you can
Yes, dude.
make a track.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, let me ask about your underbody protection.
Mhm.
What all are you running underneath the car, and how long have you had that stuff on there?
Yeah, so it's pretty much all Rally Tech stuff.
Okay.
Besides the rear diff. The rear diff is just a primitive racing skid plate. And honestly, I've never hit it. Like, I've dented it from jacking it up on the plate.
Hmm.
I've bent it in a little, but I don't think I've ever hit it on a rock. It's nice to have though. And then I originally got a Rally Tech front engine skid when got the suspension. I got the suspension and a skid plate for the engine. And then about a couple months ago, if that, I got a transmission skid plate. So now it's
Nice.
fully protected. I mean, the Rally Tech skid plates are great. They came out with their new 1/4 inch ones, which is awesome, the thicker ones. But also, I think I see a lot of people run primitive, and I know you speak
Hmm.
highly of it as well. And ADF, there's so many options for skid plates, but just having the engine covered up first and foremost, and then the transmission is pretty key.
Yeah, I I think the transmission is actually one that gets overlooked so
Yeah,
much because it doesn't take much at all.
it's true. Yep.
Even in the automatics, I don't know how sensitive the CVTs are in there, but I know that those pans aren't deep at all.
No.
It wouldn't take much to push up into all the solenoids and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Not fun. Yep.
Yeah, when that happens, you can't even move the car.
No.
It's
Yeah.
bad news.
I'd always be pretty careful when I go out. Just not having the CVT covered until a couple
Hmm.
months ago, but I've probably hit the front skid plate so many times. I've hit it so hard I picked the front end of the car up, on
Same,
rocks.
dude.
And it's
Same.
I mean, it's like you can just hit it. You don't want to just go blasting through stuff, but at the same time you can kind of mindlessly hit it, and you cannot just worry about like hitting your oil pan and leaking all your oil out in the middle of the mountains and walking down to cell
Yeah.
service or something. It's a really nice piece of protection to have on your car.
Just makes it more fun. You get to have a lot more
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. You just don't have to be in like that fight or flight mode of like, oh, I'm going to
Yes,
hit
yeah.
something.
Ah.
Yeah. And if you hit it, I remember hitting it first couple times on those rocks and denting it so bad it would rattle on the subframe. And so when I'm driving back on the highway, my friend and I were just like, "Grr," it's rattling so bad at like 2,500 RPMs, but it's like, you get back
Yeah.
home, you take it off, and you get the hammer out, and you just bend it back.
What do you think is your favorite mod on the car?
I'd probably have to say the suspension.
Okay.
I always go back to that. Just the ride quality and how robust that B6 strut is, and how nice it rides with the springs. We actually haul spring water, so
Oh, okay.
we our water is really calcified, and so
Mhm.
sometimes people might see stories or posts of me having like 8 water jugs. And they're all 7 gallon jugs in the trunk. They're like, "What are you doing?" I remember posting in the fourth gen group asking what to get when it was sagging really bad, because on the stock struts I'd just be riding on the bump stops.
Yeah, yeah.
And with these overload springs and the B6, it maybe sags 1/4 of an inch with about 480 to 500 pounds of water in the back of the trunk. It's a lot. And it's amazing how it hardly, like, you can notice a teeny bit of a gap in the fender well,
Hmm.
and you notice the weight driving, obviously, but it rides so nice with that weight. And so I always go back to the suspension, probably. It just handles
Yeah,
weight really well.
that's impressive.
Yeah.
And I don't think everybody needs, springs
No.
and upgraded suspension. But dude, if you have any amount of aftermarket, like, whether it's aftermarket bumpers, a tire carrier, or you're planning on loading the car down,
Yeah.
it makes such a huge difference.
Totally.
And all you got to do to increase the off pavement, ride quality is just dump a few pounds of air pressure out of the tires when you leave the pavement.
Right. Yep.
That's how you overcome that.
Yep.
Because that's really my only complaint is it's just going to change the harshness off
Right.
road. But
Yeah.
you just dump a little bit of air pressure and you're golden, brother.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
Okay, so got any crazy off road stories in the car?
I've definitely we've got a few. I gotta think. Some snow
Let's
wheeling
hear it.
adventures. I might have to let me take a quick peek in my photos because I'm thinking of one, but it's always snow, isn't it? Though.
Oh, every
Well,
single
well,
time.
actually, no. Okay. So this spring, I went out by myself and went wheeling, and it was still. I went to this area that's maybe an hour away, 40 minutes away, and ended up getting stuck in the mud. And I've been in this area a ton, but I went down this little two track, and I started going down it into this field, and I
I
had
know
yeah,
exactly
yeah,
what post you're talking
you know what you're look yeah, you know. And so I started at the second my brain, I'm like, I need to turn around, I need to stop. I sink down, I hit the skids, I hit the rear diff,
about.
and I'm slammed. I'm so high centered in that two track mud rut that it's up to my rear control arms. It's like up to the front skid. And I was like, oh crap. I get out and there's mud everywhere. I mean, it's just such a mess. Like, I'd rather get stuck in snow. And I
Yeah,
don't think I've been stuck in mud before like that I can remember. So I was so lucky. I had a couple bars of service, and
nice.
I get my traction boards out and I say, well, let me see what I can do, see if it'll budge. And it didn't go anywhere. I was just like, you could tell the car was trying, but I was like, I don't want to break an axle because one of my axles does have a slight click in it. And
Okay.
so probably going out at some point, but probably not for a little longer. So it's like, I don't want to damage anything else trying to get myself out of this. And I called my buddy who's got a Tacoma, and he came and pulled me out. But it was bad. It was real bad.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. How long do you think you were stuck?
Probably an I mean, I don't think it was that long. I want to say I got stuck. Let's see. It looks like it was around 3 in the afternoon. It was about an hour, which is not bad.
Okay.
Um, but
Oh, that it's not bad at
yeah,
all.
I just got really, really lucky having cell service, and that was a good wake up call. That it's like I literally just turned off the main road, so the main road was right up there, and this was just a little two track. I was gonna
I can
go,
see
yeah, I was
it.
just gonna go down
Yeah.
in the meadow and take a look, see where that goes, and it only took a couple hundred feet of driving down that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can see your front
yeah.
tires look like straight up chocolate donuts.
Yeah, the amount of mud,
Oh,
I washed that all off immediately when I got back into town, but it was such a pain. When I got on the gravel road, stuff was just flinging like mad. Yeah, yeah. So the mud's
is
not very fun, but
not at all, dude.
yeah,
And it's funny to me how fast it can go bad in the mud,
I know. So
you
quick.
know? Like the snow is the snow's hard to gauge, but I find the same thing in mud. It's like you'll run into some mud where you're like, "Oh, this is pretty firm and I can drive right through this."
Yep,
Whereas other times it's like, "Oh, fudge, I just sank right into that."
right. Yep. And a couple other times I've gotten stuck in the snow, but I don't think I have any photos on here, but it's like when my buddy and I would go out in his Tundra and my Outback, we would purposely get stuck for fun and then we'd pull each other out or he'd pull me out. But there's one time he got himself stuck. This is his Tundra right here with the traction
Oh yeah,
boards in
dude.
there.
That's sick.
And we had to use the two traction boards in the front. And I was like, I don't want to have to pull them out, full size truck. But
Yeah,
when you're with other people, it's a little different. It's more like you can just mess around. But when you're by yourself, I just don't think you should go snow wheeling by yourself
agreed.
if you can help it, because it can
100%.
turn from like this is awesome to like shit out of luck situation so quick,
Yeah,
so quick. And
yeah.
even if you have a winch, the thing I found in that mud situation is like there was nothing to winch to. I would have needed a land anchor or something, there's no trees
Yeah.
around, so I would have needed a rear winch. How many people have a rear winch on a Subaru? So it's just, yeah.
What's your miles per gallon look like on average?
It kind of varies, but I would say like just daily driving, commuting, driving around town, that's around 23 to
That's
24.
not that's not
No.
bad at all.
And on the highway, my gauge is off, obviously. My miles per gallon gauge is off because the tires, but
Mhm.
right around 23 would be like a lot of town driving, and like the commute I do is a lot of county roads, so I probably get 25. And on the highway, it's probably somewhere in there too, but I got the Prinsu rack installed recently, and I've been so
Okay.
amazed how that actually I'm starting to see probably the highest miles per gallon I've seen since I've started modding it, and that's just due to how aerodynamic that rack is. I was seeing,
Mhm.
and I know this is probably not accurate at all, but on that gauge I was seeing 28, so I'm guessing it was probably around 26. Um, 26
Well, if
to
you
yeah.
technically you have bigger tires, so it's even better than what you're seeing.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, interesting.
because technically your car thinks you've gone less distance than, um, or hold on. Oh, wait, no. Let me think about this. Am I an idiot? Yeah, it thinks you've gone less distance because every rotation technically covers more ground
Okay, right.
than stock tires. So yeah, dude, that's actually really impressive.
I'm
I think a big
really, yeah, stoked on like after what I had on there before was just the stock rack and some Yakima crossbars.
okay.
That worked fine, but I didn't like how much wind noise I got. I built myself a custom DIY super strut rack out of
Hmm.
Superstrut, Unistrut, whatever you call it, and I had traction boards and rotopacks on there. But the Printer rack I'd been saving up for it for a while, and well, it was a definitely a pretty in depth install. It's so worth it. It looks so good, and it's so quiet on the highway. I don't hear it at all, and I've got two rotopaxes up there. I've got a shovel. I've got my traction boards, and I've got a Roam case now
Okay.
that Chris actually gave me.
Oh,
he
nice.
That's
Oh,
his Roam case, which is really cool.
sick.
And I've just been loving the setup, and even with that case, I'm still getting really good mileage.
When did he give that to you? Just recently?
When we were up at the expo,
Okay.
yep.
Yeah.
So last week,
He's he
yep.
still had it when I interviewed him,
Uh
so
huh.
I'm glad to hear it went to a good
Yep.
home.
Yeah. He's looking to downsize a little bit, and so it really
Okay.
worked out perfect. And I can put some recovery gear up there now. I was hoping to fit a chainsaw up there to not have the gas smell, but it doesn't fit, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Um, I think it's impressive, you've kept so much of the factory aerodynamics of the car. As much
Yeah.
as I love bumper cuts,
Right.
your car still has, basically a stock, aerodynamic profile,
Right.
That's
Yep.
such an important thing if you're trying to, because the engineers, they're trying specifically to make sure, how do we make this car still look presentable and get the best possible miles per gallon?
Right. Yep.
And, if you interrupt that airflow even a little bit, it can completely change, just how the car pushes through the wind.
Yep.
So,
And probably my biggest miles per gallon killer at this point is just the offset on the tires. because I
Mm,
have plus 15, so it's
yeah.
quite a bit. But it sticks out a lot. But I'm okay with that. If that's my only thing, the rack flows well, everything else flows well. I get a little noise from the ditch lights and stuff. And as
Okay.
I've thought about a bumper cut, I don't really want to go down that rabbit hole of wanting to cut it and then having to secure it and having to relocate a washer tank. And it's like, yeah, I can't do as much with that front bumper, but it still hasn't stopped me much.
Mm-hmm.
With the lift, it's raised up quite a bit. And so I just wanted to keep it because I definitely do drive on the highway enough that it's like, I don't want to just be like slamming wind into the front lip.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think with the amount of money you've saved in gas, you could probably go buy a cheap 4x4. If you really needed
right.
a bunch of approach
Yeah,
angle, you could have a
right.
second car,
Yeah, totally. Uh-huh.
Especially these days, gas is like it's gonna bankrupt me.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, do you what kind of chainsaw do you carry with you?
For off-roading,
Yeah, just in the car.
well,
What
it depends. I actually don't always have one. When I do know I'm going in a pretty forested area, I'll have an electric saw, which is just
okay.
it's like a little ego power.
Handheld.
Yeah, a little 18-inch saw. That's great. You could just throw it in the
Okay.
back. Otherwise, I don't typically carry a full-size chainsaw with gas and bar oil. It just stinks and I don't want stuff leaking. Um,
Yeah.
but I will carry a handsaw. So I have a silky handsaw that's like, I don't know, 8, 9 inches long. The blade's really long. And so if I come across a tree on the road or something bent over onto the road, I can cut up to a 12-inch tree with that. So I
Okay.
just keep that in the car behind the seat and stuff. And that's really nice. That's like equivalent of a small chainsaw. You just gotta do it by hand.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think having a chainsaw is really nice. There's a couple times I've wished I've brought it. Um, this spring, if I know I'm like going up a road in the spring and there's trees down likely, I'll just bring it and I'll end up clearing the road out. I actually dragged a few
Okay.
trees out this spring, and then I ended up
Nice.
handsawing the one at the top because the battery died in the chainsaw. So it's always good to have a backup to a backup.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Manual backups are
Yeah.
very valuable.
Right.
Do you have any? Because for me personally, and I know for a lot of people, just using a chainsaw is kind of intimidating.
Right.
It's scary because we've all seen like Chainsaw
Yeah.
Massacre, and
Yeah.
and I mean, if you don't use them right,
Yeah.
you really can get hurt. But do you have any just like beginner tips for somebody who might want to carry something like that?
Yeah, I mean, if you've got a good spot to store it, just like bring a small, not even a mid-range saw, like up to 16, 18-inch bar is really all you need. Don't get something too big.
Mhm.
Start out small if you haven't really ran a saw before. Run it at home. And if you're going out in the woods, bring a pair of chaps. That's the biggest thing that chainsaw accidents happen from is not wearing leg protection.
Mhm.
It's that one extra piece of gear. You got to spend 80 to $100 on them, but they'll save your life.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes. Chaps, maybe bring a helmet, but really, if you're like just going out there to clear some trees, some chaps, a small saw, some gloves, and some eye protection, and just there's a lot of good YouTube videos online that recommend getting comfortable with the saw and cutting
Okay.
at home first, before you really go out. Um,
Yeah.
but the PPE is really the biggest thing
Okay.
with a chainsaw, one of the most
Yeah.
dangerous tools,
Yeah. What are
Yeah,
some of the most common, things that happen? Like obviously, with the chaps, just I'm guessing, there's a ton of femoral artery injuries that
yeah.
happen where people bleed out. Um, is it common for, as people are cutting through something, it'll just come down, or, do they kick back a lot, or
It's a lot of different things, but your legs kind of the most important part and the most vulnerable part. I feel like because kickback will either go down, you'll drop the saw, it's going to go down towards your legs.
Mm,
You're always sawing close to your legs in
yeah,
general. And then sometimes the saw can come back. So that's why people wear helmets too, because the saw, and that's why there's a chain brake too, is if you're cutting with the tip of the bar or something, or the tree pinches or the log pinches and the saw comes back. I've had it happen. It'll catch you by surprise. The bigger the saw, the more kickback power there is. And so that'll come back, and that could really, mess up your head and your face and all that. So that's where the helmet comes in. But I really recommend the chaps are a huge thing for just anyone that runs a chainsaw enough, even if
Okay.
it's just a couple times. It doesn't take much. I've cut myself with the chaps, and it just locks. What it does is it takes
Yeah.
the fiber and it jams it in the sprocket, and
Yeah.
it's terrifying, but it's like you rather have that happen than you rather like ruin a pair of chaps than be going to the hospital. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, femoral artery injuries, man, those you don't get a lot of time, you
no,
know.
you
If you're
don't.
by yourself, you're not going to make it back unless you know
Yeah,
how to, somehow stop the bleeding. But most people
yeah,
are, you're going to go into shock well before you
yeah.
can handle that unless you're like combat trained.
Right. And having a first aid kit with a tourniquet, that's another thing.
Mm,
In general, your car should have a first aid kit or two, but a good first aid kit and a tourniquet, knowing how to use it. I mean, for anything, any adventure you go out on, you
hmm
could find someone else hurt, on a motorcycle, but a tourniquet will also really help if you that's more for I mean, it can be used for anything, but to stop the controlled bleeding on your arms, especially.
hmm
If you have chaps on, you're probably not gonna cut anything on your legs, but your arms are also
Yeah.
susceptible.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, this is really. I'm glad we're talking
Yeah,
about
no,
this.
it's
Because
cool.
it's just interesting.
Yeah,
I know we're supposed to be
totally.
talking about Subarus, but
Yeah.
this is sick.
Yep. Well, it's good for
um.
people to know, just like some
Yeah.
basic. There's a lot of good videos out there, on like basic bucking techniques for bucking
Mm,
logs, and
okay.
evaluating compression and tension and binds. Because
Interesting.
typically, I mean, it's a whole art to it. It takes a lot, but it also doesn't take much to get yourself some good PPE and just watch a few videos, and then like
hmm
if you got some logs to cut up. I mean, typically people are clearing trees. Tree felling's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother rabbit hole to go down, and
Yeah.
that's a whole
Yeah.
nother level of danger there. But I mean,
Yeah.
it just like you can clear a tree on a road, and it'll fuck you up. You're not careful.
Yeah.
It won't take much because you have it suspended here and all this tension, or you get
hmm
your saw stuck. Bring some
Yeah.
wedges with too. I mean, yeah, there's a
Mm,
lot of different things you could
yeah.
bring, but wedges
Good
and an
point.
axe would also be helpful. I want to
Okay.
say I want to say Derek Unpaved. He's got like
Yes.
a mid-sized chainsaw too. I think he carries wedges too. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I think you're right. Yeah. I
yeah.
was just out with him a couple weekends
Oh,
ago
nice.
before I went to Alaska. He
Yeah,
was he rolled out to the Trout Lake area with me, and we
yeah.
camped out, and shot some guns,
Mhm.
hung out, then did a little bit of driving.
Nice.
He's definitely a G. I love that guy.
Yeah, I'd love to meet you
Um,
guys when I come out to Oregon,
dude.
or when I'm like, if I am indeed living out there and working out
hmm
there next year, I'm really stoked to be able to
Yeah,
do some wheeling because there's so many people out there. It'd be sweet.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was so bummed that I wasn't able to. I'm getting married like
Oh,
in
nice.
a few, like a month or something, and so it's just everything's been so hectic. But I really
Uh-huh.
wanted to come out and see you when you were out here, but
Yeah.
it's a mission to get out to that
Yeah.
side of the state, and it
Uh-huh.
just, dude, I feel like I'm just barely keeping my head above water. Like, I'm always doing something and always getting into some kind of trouble, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. Do you have any future plans for the car?
Yeah. I mean, there always is, right? But I definitely we're talking about lights a little bit. I'd like to add
hmm
a rear chase light, a couple rear
Okay.
chase lights, or either like two pod lights for a chase light, or just like a chase light bar would be awesome.
Yeah.
I love that, and also just like That's really good for stopping on the roadside, having some really like high visibility hazards or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, maybe some scene lighting for camp lighting on the rack itself. Now that
Some
there's so many of them.
side
Yep.
shooters.
And then I'd like to add a torque locker. It'll probably be next year. But I'd like to add a
Yeah.
torque locker. I got to figure out how to go about that and who would actually help me tear that apart. But I've heard so many good things about those lockers, and
Oh yeah.
I know you got one in your Foz, but
Mm-hmm.
probably the torque locker, some more lights, just keeping up with maintenance really too.
Okay.
I'm not going to really do anything else. I'm not going to do anything to the engine. The suspension's really good. Um, replacing worn parts, changing the CVT fluid. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, man.
Yeah.
Maintenance, basic maintenance.
Yeah. I know.
I'll see people spend like $2,000 on a big brake kit, on STI calipers
Yeah.
and big rotors and all that stuff. And it's like, or you could have just flushed your old brake fluid and you'd have probably been part of the way there.
Yep.
It's like
Right.
you got 20-year-old brake fluid in that WRX,
Yeah.
man. Like
Yep.
the all your lights and stuff, are you running them off individual switches or do you have a switch panel system that you use?
I don't. It's a little bit of
Okay.
a rat's nest, but I've got a lot of zip ties, so it's really not bad. It's pretty clean.
Hmm.
Yeah, besides the grill lights running off the fog fuse, everything else is just wired in as switches. So I have like two or three different switches in the car. I think it's just
Okay, that's
two.
not bad.
Yeah, it's
That's
two.
not bad
One
at
for
all.
the ditch lights and one for the aux beams because there's
Hmm.
two switches for that. There's a DRL and then there's the high beams, which I don't run those unless I'm off road. But no, it's really not bad. I don't I don't see myself needing a switch panel really. I don't mind having the
Okay,
switches down there, and I can always label them, but they're different right now, so I remember which is
gotcha.
which. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 That's oh man, I'm not gonna lie, dude. Even with the aux beam, I always push the wrong button.
Yeah, right.
E-
Yeah.
Even though I have them labeled, I'm just like, oh crap, I
Right.
should.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Do you have any plans to do any kind of a winch or anything like that? I mean, I know you'd have to completely change the front end of the car.
Well, I've thought about, the Rally Tech hidden winch mount because they
Hmm.
came out with one for my year,
Hmm.
this year, and I was stoked to see that. And that seems like a pretty solid mounting point. It
Hmm.
bolts up. I don't. You have to do a little bit of cutting to the bumper, but not much, and it provides a nice OEM look too.
Hmm.
Um, and then you can put a Warren or a Harbor Freight winch in there or whatever. So I thought
Yeah,
about that. I've definitely thought about doing that, and I've also thought about like finding a fabricator to weld up a front bumper. Like,
yeah,
yeah, but it's tricky to find someone to
dude.
do that. It's just like I don't
They don't
know.
take us seriously.
No, they're like,
I
"Oh, you want to weld a bumper for a what?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, doesn't Patrick with ADF, doesn't he weld some bumpers? Doesn't he do a little bit of
You
that?
know,
Do you
he
know?
used to, but
Yeah.
he just now finished up a bunch of designing for some aluminum bumpers, which I think are going to be sick. I'm going to try to get one.
Yeah.
And he designed them in a way to where they can be shipped, so they
Yeah.
can be disassembled and shipped, and then you just assemble it and bolt it on.
Uh-huh.
I really want to get one, dude.
Would they fit in Outback?
I think he
Oh,
is making them for your what's that, fifth gen
4th gen.
or fourth gen.
Yeah.
It's so hard for me because Legacy, they didn't start Outbacks until second
Uh-huh.
gen,
Right.
so second gen is first gen. I always fudge it up.
Yeah.
Legacies were kind of I've always had a Legacy. I've had so many of them. That's like it was my first Subaru, and
Yeah. Yeah.
so I always mix them up. I'm like fourth gen, fifth.
Uh-huh.
Wait, hold
Yeah. It would
on.
be sweet like to have a bumper like that with the winch, but at the same time I feel like if I don't end up going that route, I would probably just go the hidden winch mount with a nice
Hmm.
winch from Rally Tech, and I got to see that on an Outback Wilderness at Overland Expo, and I mean it's a really clean look. And then you've
Yeah.
got two front solid recovery points as well, which I really like too.
Yeah.
So that's an option.
Love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Um, if is there ever any thought in your head of being like, okay, I need to switch to a 4x4? Have you ever had that thought or felt like I'm pushing this car to the point where I probably should get something else?
I would say it's definitely ran through my head, for sure. But I think what I'll always do is always have a Subaru, just because they're great cars for commuting and mild to light off-roading, really.
Hmm.
Um, and doing some of the harder stuff, you just have to modify a lot. So I would definitely like to have an old Toyota, an old Runner, or an old Tacoma at some point, and just have both because it'd be super fun to
Yeah.
be able to go out, wheel the Tacoma, do like a mild lift and do some like 30, I don't know, put 35s on it or
Yeah,
something.
dude.
Just like pretty basic, but also just so capable, and then be able to go out on that thing too. So,
Dude,
yeah.
that's exactly
Yep.
where I was with
Yep.
it. I was like, okay, I got to go buy a 4x4 too,
You've got a Jeep, right?
Yeah, it's an old
Okay.
XJ. I
Yeah.
mean, it's if there was a better option for front axles, I'd run 37s, but I'm just on 35s right now because
Yeah.
I'm on a D30 front end,
Yeah.
which if you don't mash on them too hard, you can get them to last.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm on it's pretty much as built as it can be without
Yeah.
full 1 ton swap.
Uh-huh.
And I am on a short arm kit. I have a 3 link sitting in the garage, but again, like
Yeah.
like my short block, I just
Yeah.
lazy or busy. I don't know which one. Probably a
Yeah.
combination of both.
Ugh.
But it's a completely different experience. It's like
Yeah.
you just I can really just point it at anything and be like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go up this.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Yeah. No, it'd be sweet to have. And how many miles do you have on the Jeep and the Forester?
The Forcer's at like 224,000,
Wow.
which is crazy,
Is
and that car's been underwater.
is that original engine and transmission, or
Original engine and transmission.
wow.
I'm pretty positive it had the head gaskets done. Um, but dude, I don't know how it's
Yeah.
still running, dude. Like
Wow.
I literally sank it underwater and it still
Yeah.
runs. Jeep's at like 209,
Okay. Wow.
but
Yeah.
it's on its like third engine.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't be a Jeep. It wouldn't be a Jeep
Yeah.
if it hadn't been a replaced engine. Yeah.
I will say it's got the 4.0, which is like a cast iron block,
Yeah.
and they're super reliable.
Yeah.
My theory is that they're all just owned by a bunch of degenerates who don't maintain them.
Right.
So once it got, by the time it got to me, it had already had an engine replaced and just been beat to death. And so, I mean, it had a bent number 6 connecting rod
Jeez.
and still ran. Like I
Yeah.
had no idea. I had no idea it had a bent rod until I pulled it apart for another issue. And I was like, oh, I guess I should just throw a used engine in this. Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna play it safe.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, Jeep things, man. It's always
Yeah.
something. Do you have I didn't see anything in your Instagram, but do you have any like affiliate codes or anything like that?
No, I don't.
Okay. And then I know you're on Instagram, you're BMC Adventures, right?
Yes, underscore. And then I'm
Oh,
also on YouTube as well, and that's just
perfect.
BMC Adventures, no underscore. So I post
Awesome.
I post some I post a mix of everything. I post some trips on there. I post some off-roading, post some tree felling. I don't know. Originally it started because I back in, it's probably been 8 years. I started with RC cars actually, and I
I
still
saw
got some
that.
RC cars that I messed around with every now and then. But it used to be all RC stuff, and then it
Heck
turned
yeah.
from RCs to chainsaws, and then so it's like a whole little like time capsule of all my
Yeah,
interests. But it's
I
pretty
love
fun.
that. Yeah, I saw your email address and I was like, is this for 4x4 stuff or for RC? And then I looked at your Instagram. I was like, oh, RC, tight.
Yeah.
Way more affordable version of
Oh
rock
my
crawling,
gosh.
dude.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh man, I'm gonna die here on accident. Dude, well, thanks for doing this, man. This was absolutely sick.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, if people aren't already following you, they should go hit you up, BMC_adventures on Instagram, and then hit
Yep.
the YouTube, hit that
Yep.
subscribe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been absolutely